This call is now being recorded.
Oh, I'm Katrina Strauss, and I'm one of the WIN tech trainers.
And I'm Nate Weber.
The forums you, and yes, then there's Nate.
Yeah, and I'm Nate Weber. I'm one of our instructional coaches at the Brookside campus. Katrina and I work together. The WIN trainers and the coaches have been working together a lot during the remote learning to help provide people with tools to make this as successful as we can.
Yeah, so in the on the screen here, you can see the URL. I'll also put the direct link in the chat to this presentation, so you can retrieve it later or retrieve it now and follow along with it. So today what we'll do is I'm just going to go through the slideshow here, just give you an overview of how to use forms, some tips and things that I've also added to this, and then you should have some time to use it, to do some practice, and also ask questions. So after I'm done presenting this, Nate will show you a few things, and then we'll have some time for practicing and Q&A. So let's do it. All right. So if you haven't used Google Forms before, here's just a few of the features that you'll see there. You can create questions to collect data, whether it's for assessments. You can use it for surveys, either surveys for your students or other staff members, whatever you want to use it for. It's basically a way to collect information. What's nice though about it in terms of academics, you can use it for quizzes. It's integrated in Google Classroom as well, so that's kind of nice. And you could also grade those quizzes within forms. You can control what students see in terms of their results in the end. And it also links the results to Google Sheets. So if you want some more detailed analysis of the data, you can use it for that as well. So here's just a little bit of how to actually create a form and set it up. So you just go to your Google Drive and you click on New or Create. I think it might be called Create now. And then you select Google Forms. And usually if you just click on that, it will open up, but you could also select a blank form, or you could do from a template. So templates are just already set up for you. They have different designs, so you can certainly look through those. Generally though, I just use a blank form and start from there. When you open the form, you'll see a few options there, and the main thing you probably want to work with is generating a question. So they'll have a box already there for a question, and on the side of that box you'll see there's the different icons there, and they represent the types of questions you could put in, as well as pictures or video. You could also add like different sections and titles to the form as well. So that's where you'll find those options there to the right side. You can see it circled in the picture here. In terms of the kinds of questions you can ask with forms, you could just do basic like multiple choice. You can do check boxes, drop-down menu sort of things. On the top of this slide here, you'll see I put a link there to a resource that goes into a lot more detail on how to set up the different question types. I highly recommend it, especially if you are new to using forms. But even if you have used it before, I know when I looked at that, there was a few things on there that I learned about that I didn't know as well. So definitely check out that resource. There's things like in the short answer, you can do a response validation. So you can, if you want the students to, or whoever's answering your survey, to write in a certain word, you can have it try to match that. You can even put in like typos and stuff. You can do it with numbers. So if you don't want to do like multiple choice, say, you're looking for the answer to be 1,000, you can actually have it as a short answer and it will recognize it. So, check that out. Again, there's more information in the resource for that. Other things you could do with the questions though, you can do file uploads. So students can attach pictures or documents in the form. You could do like number scale type questions. So like a rating of sorts. There's also what's called checkbox grid and multiple choice grid. Looks something like this. So again, sort of like on a scale, but you can have rows of different questions or things that they'll have to do. So like in this one, it's like agree or disagree, that sort of format. So that's just what the checkbox grid or multiple choice grid does. the checkbox grid, they can select like multiple, more than one answer basically. With the multiple choice grid, they can only select one answer per row. So that's the difference between those. Another feature of Google Forms is being able to import questions. So this is a newer feature that they just put on here this year. And so, yeah, if you have other forms already created or old quizzes or whatnot, instead of retyping everything, you can just select the import icon. Again, it's on the right side of the question box. If you just hover over it, you'll see it pop up. But you just select that, then find the form you want to use, and then it will give you all the questions from that form, and then you just select the questions you want from there. So it doesn't necessarily import all of them. You can just import like a few of them, however many you want. So it's that's a cool feature, because sometimes I'll revise a quiz, but I don't necessarily want to, or I have questions for multiple quizzes and I want to combine into one. It's nice to do that with this. So definitely check out the import question feature, especially if you've been using this before. You can also customize your form a little bit. Again, you can add pictures or videos into the form that students can analyze. I like to use the title and description boxes for like longer text, like a little maybe short paragraph that they have to read, or kind of breaks up the form into different sections. You can do that as well. You can also use sections for doing what's called a branching quiz. It's a little bit more advanced, but on the next couple of slides, I have an example of just how to set that up. But basically, you could customize things. Let me show you here a little bit, where their answer, whatever answer they pick, will then go to a different section in the quiz or the document. It doesn't have to be a quiz. It could be another activity, but it will go based on what their answer is. So for example, say you ask a student a question and they get it wrong. You could customize it so that the next question they see is maybe something scaffold out for them. Maybe it's either something to help them review, or maybe a lower level question or something like that. You can have them go there, where if a student gets the question right, then maybe they just go to the next level. So that's just what I mean by like a branching, questionnaire or quiz. So that's kind of a cool feature of this as well, to play around with. Again, get used to the main stuff first, but definitely, some teachers find this kind of cool, just in terms of customizing the questions for the kids. So here's just another look at what it looks like within the choices. So you can see if they, chose the, option 3, it would have the student go to the next section, or you could have them go to like section 2 or whatever it is you're doing there. So just a few things there that you can use with the different options. Another feature, of course, is the quiz feature. And especially if you use Google Classroom, this is really nice. To set up a quiz, you just click on the settings icon, which is generally a gear icon. And when you open that up, you'll see there's the different settings you could turn on. I recommend turning on email collection, but you could like limit the questionnaire to have one response, or you could let participants like edit their choices after they've submitted it. So, you can kind of see what the options are for yourself and then decide what you want to use from there. But to make it into a quiz, you click on the little quiz tab and you see the options. So let me bring up this slide that shows that a little bit more. So you'll see it says, make it a quiz. So you can do that. And then the really cool feature of this is you can turn on locked mode. So what that does is it will temporarily disable the students. It will disable their tabs that they have open currently on their Chromebook, and only have the quiz open. Once they submit the quiz, then everything returns. So you can turn that on. Now, with remote learning, the only issue is they could still maybe be on their phone, right, looking up things, but it at least kind of eliminates, maybe the ease of them trying to, maybe look up some answers, if that's what you want to do. So you can use the lock mode feature. You can customize when they see their grade. So do you want them to see it right away? Do you want them to see it later? Like, you might want to delay it if you don't want them to, share the answers with other students, stuff like that. So after they submit it, then you just wait for it to, wait for the students to take it, and then you can return it to them later. So again, you can decide what, what your needs are from there. Now I know it's a little cut off here, but you could also just choose, do they see just what's missed? You can, have them see the correct answers or not. You can see, or you can customize it to, they just see the points they have. So where it says respondent can see, when you look at those options, again, you can choose how you want students to view their results. So once you do get results from the quizzes or any, survey you might do, you click on the responses tab that you'll see there to see the results, a summary of the results basically. And I know Nate will talk about grading a little bit more, but I'll show that quick here a little bit easier. So here's my response tab, and it's loading, of course, because it has to be slow. Okay, well, all right, well, maybe we'll get back to that. But down there you'll see like by question. Okay, here we go. How they did, per question, the overall results. Like for me, I always ask them the period number and their name. So yeah, but it's a nice little breakdown of the results here. So that's just what I mean by that. If you have short answer responses, you can grade that within forms. And again, Nate will show you that a little bit more in a moment here. So it's pretty easy to do, and here's just a little bit of the instructions on how to go through that. And some screenshots as well. You basically go to the question option, select the question from the drop-down menu, and you'll see how you can input the scores. So Nate will model that a little bit more later. So a few tips in general, just for setting up the form and things like that. I recommend using the duplicate question option, and let me just show you what that looks like here. So it's just this little icon here, duplicate. What's nice is, say you have, and I don't know if I have it on this quiz. Oh, this is kind of like a sample thing. So let's say you wanted to reuse a group of answer choices, but maybe change the question. If you duplicate it, it will keep everything there. Then you can just edit whatever your question is. So I could, I don't know, do largest to smallest or whatever it is, right? So that's a feature that I like. It just saves you a little bit of time. You can also copy and paste formatted questions from a doc or Word. So when I say formatted, I mean when you hit the enter button, it will automatically number them or assign a letter, A, B, C or whatever. So you can also do that and copy the answer choices and paste them into your choices on forms, and it will separate it. Otherwise, what it might do, if you just try to copy the whole thing, then all of the text will just end up in the question or in one of your answer choices. So that's just, if you do have some quizzes that are in docs or on a Word document, you can do that to transfer them over to the form. Oh, hello. You could, as you saw in the quiz I was just showing, I also recommend asking for their name and period. Otherwise, you'll just have an email address and you have to figure out who's who, right? So always ask them for their name. And if you have multiple classes, the period. I always just do last name, first name. And if you're trying to figure out how how it's looking, you can use the little preview. It's just a little eyeball at the top to see how the quiz will look in the end. So. I forgot to fix this last time, but you can customize the theme by using the paint icon, not pain, though, hopefully it's not painful for you, but yeah, there's a paint icon that you can use, and that just changes the color and things like that. Okay, well, I fixed it in the original one, so now it should say paint. Anyway, so just a couple tips there for, the setup. And when it comes to otherwise looking at the results, again, when you click on the responses tab, you just, you see a summary of the data. If you're using it with Google Classroom, you can import the results and return it to them there. So that's nice because really, if your students are used to using Google Classroom, it's just easy for them to just see their scores. So it's up to you on how you want to do that, but there is an import feature in Google Classroom, and so if you're still trying to get comfortable with Google Classroom, there's probably going to be a few sessions on Monday that can maybe show you how to do that a little bit further. But that's definitely an option with the results. And so you could put them in there. You could also, like I was saying, view the results in a sheet. To do that, you just click on the little green icon under the responses tab, and it will generate a new sheet for you. And again, if you have their names in there and the period, then you can use the sheet to sort it. I sort it alphabetically, and it's nice and neat. And when I enter the scores into like Infinite Campus, it's just, just the running list right there. It's pretty nice. So I'll show you an old one. Oops, I should probably take these names off. I think those students graduated by now. So you can see here, just I have, the period. Originally it was kind of all jumbled up, but I just hit this little sort option here, and it will, sort it by period. I usually sort it by the name first, so that alphabetizes it, and then I do it by period. So that's just one way to view the results and their scores. So you see that here. Another thing is, as you could see, I used some color coding in there. Certainly, you can do that if you'd like. So I sorted it by their grade in this case, and then so I sorted it by grade originally, and then I highlighted all the ones who struggled and the ones who did well and all that. So I just kind of give you a little preview of what that could look like here. All right, I just use a little paint to do that, fill color. And then when I sort them back, hit my little thing over, then I can at least get an idea of, when I'm just looking at my classes in general, kind of who did well and who struggled with the quiz. So that's just a little tip you can use. You can also combine multiple quizzes into the same sheet. So like I do quizzes by unit. So instead of having 4 different documents for the quiz, I can have them all in one. Now I don't think I did this one in particular, yeah. But to do that, when you click on that little green icon here, so that one there, it will ask for select response destination. Like you could choose a new sheet, or you could do select response destination. So when you do that, then you just find the sheet that you already have, and it will create a new little sheet within the big document. And then I usually name it like what the quiz name is, and it's all there. So so in the past I've done like unit 1 quizzes, and it's all in one sheet versus 5 different sheets. So just another little tip to kind of try to make things a little bit more efficient for you. So the last slide here, just these are resources just using Google's website. They have tips not just on how to use forms in general, but they also do it by like advanced level or beginner level. So if you go to those links there and go to the bottom of the page, they sort of differentiate it for you. So if you're new to forms or new to sheets or whatever, you can do the beginner tab. If you've used it before, maybe want to go a little bit deeper, you can do like the advanced or intermediate options there. So check out those resources. And I was saying earlier on the question types, definitely check out that resource as well. It's up here somewhere. But yeah, this one as well is, I think, a good resource that you can use. So that's just a little overview. Nate was going to show you a few other items here. So let me turn it over to Nate, and he'll show you how to do a little bit more with the grading, how to do the grading features.
Thanks, Katrina. Yeah, so I'm going to start presenting in a second here, and I'm just going to kind of show you what it looks like when you actually grade stuff and you actually get some responses and how the kids see it and that sort of thing. So once this populates, we'll get started here. All right, I think it's doing its thing now. So when you get kids that respond and they start actually filling out the form, whether it's a quiz or survey or whatever, you'll get something like this. Now, if you're doing a quiz, it'll automatically start kind of going into like grading mode, so they'll have like an average and that sort of thing. This is from a DBQ analysis, document-based question analysis, that I gave to my kids. And it's not graded yet, so you can kind of see how it looks. When it is eventually graded, it'll look something more like this. Whoops. Where if you look at the summary, you can kind of see the range of kind of how your kids did, where they're kind of averaging and that sort of thing. So that's pretty nice to see in terms of an item analysis or a test analysis to sort of see where you are. But as you grade it, it'll have all your kids' names and everything like that. What I usually like to do when I grade it is I like to click on the question tab right here. And what that does is it lets you go through each kid's responses for each question by question, so that if you are grading by hand, like if you have a written response, I do a lot for my classes, I do written responses because one, it's one of our standards we have to teach for social studies, and two, it's one of the ways to kind of ward off cheating and just copying at least a little bit. It's really hard to stop it completely, but at least you can stop it somewhat. So that's a good way to do it. So just to sort of show you how it looks. So the first question had to do with a brief little document about how Brazilians responded to the Spanish flu of 1918. It's based on a little document from an editorial from a Brazilian newspaper. And the question is, where was this document written and who was it written by? Be as specific and detailed as the document will allow. And then when I set up my quiz, I made this worth 2 points. And this first person's answer, one nice thing is that you don't see who wrote it. So if you do have any sort of implicit bias, it kind of minimizes that to a degree. So that little thing in your brain that says, oh yeah, this is a smart kid, they're going to say a smart kid response, doesn't trigger as badly. But this student wrote, this document was written in Rio de Janeiro in the country of Brazil. It didn't say the name who wrote it, but more likely was a person who was around the editing newspaper, since the source was from a newspaper. So I would say that's a good response. So when I'm grading this, I would click this little check mark here, and that makes it a 2 out of 2. Now, say I, for whatever reason, wasn't satisfied with this answer. I was looking for a little bit more and I want to give them partial credit. You can put in the score manually here. So you could put a 1, or if you're, want to be really, really precise, you could say 1.5 if you want. And that'll tabulate the score automatically. And then what's also really nice about this is that, say you do take points off, or you want to give some actionable feedback, you can give a nice little response about maybe what they did well, or maybe what they need to work on in the future to do better next time, or if they want to do a retake or anything like that, you can do that. And then when the kid gets their report on how they did on that particular form, it shows up there. They can see that. And then also, of course, make sure you hit save. And another thing, and I can't stress this enough, and Katrina mentioned it pretty extensively, make sure when you create your quiz that you are collecting kids' names and period numbers, because that'll allow you to manipulate the Google Sheet a little bit better, so you can kind of see class by class. And also make sure it's set up so that it is collecting email addresses, because if you don't, you can't really send back the feedback really easily because it has no email address to send it to. So really, really be sure that that's there. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of scrambling to figure out how to get this back to your kids. But anyway, when you're done grading all of your quizzes and you go ahead and send them back, the kids should get back an email that looks something like this. So they'll get back an email and it'll literally just look like this. It'll just say how many points they got out of how many points were available. So this particular kid did very well, got a 50 out of 52. And then when they click on view, that'll take them to a page that sort of gives them a detailed look at how they did. So it'll show them each question, and it'll be in green if they got it right. It'll be red if they got it wrong. And if you if you left any feedback, that'll show up there as well. So this kid did really well. So a lot of my feedback was just pretty congratulatory. I try not to be too repetitive, but it's kind of inevitable sometimes. So for this one, she got a 1 out of 2, and I was able to leave some feedback, which is basically just to tell her what she could do next time or maybe what she should look for. And I said, this is more addressing the issue of bias, which is important. What does the document show about how people were responding? And just a little bit of advice that I always try to give to teachers whenever they're leaving feedback for written work is try to keep it to about 3 pieces of feedback and assignment. And this is for 2 reasons. One, if you give just a boatload of feedback and you think it's useful, a lot of times kids will say, well, that's too much, I'm not reading that, and they won't pay attention anyway. And 2, you got to keep in mind that you don't want to absolutely destroy yourself just leaving, novels of feedback that's taking up a ton of your time that a kid may not exactly read. So I usually try to stick to 3. 3 is a nice digestible piece of feedback that kids can do stuff with, and that's not overwhelming for you or the kids. So I usually just try to stick it to 3. But they can see everything that they did as well as the feedback there. And that's really nice to see. When you're looking at your whole group, what is also nice, if you want to do just sort of an itemized test review, an itemized distribution in terms of how that looked. If you have multiple choice questions, that's nice and easy to see if you look at the summary, because it'll show each question and basically kind of the response frequency for that. With written questions, it's a little bit tougher. I've not been able to find kind of like what the point average is for each question. I'm going to try to dig deeper and find if there is a way to do that. So for example, I'd like to see, which question I gave had the least amount of points averaged gained by the kids, so that if there is a particular question that my kids really struggled with, that would be a signal to me that I maybe need to review that skill or that piece of content more when sharing that information. But that's something I'm looking for. But if you do it with multiple choice, it's easy to see because you can see sort of the response frequency. So if you have 100 kids respond, you can see how many of them answered A, how many have answered B, C, and D, and so forth. So it's nice to do it that way. But yeah, it's excuse me, it's a nice, easy way to sort of send feedback. And if you're ever giving any sort of assignment that has segments to it or a quiz or anything like that, it's a good way to do it. It's pretty clear. It's pretty efficient. And it doesn't send out the information until you're totally done and you hit share. Because you don't want necessarily the kids to see you grading it in real time. So that's nice in that way. I always like to maybe use this as a reflection piece. You can also do through Google Classroom or Hapar or Schoology, whichever you're using. You can ask kids to respond in terms of what they're going to do with this information, if they're going to do a retake, if they're going to maybe use it for a future test in terms of changing their way of preparation. Some sort of reflection is always good to do as well. So that's just another tip that you can also do. And then what's also nice is that when you do have your everything all done and you look at your responses, you can kind of see kind of how everybody did. It has a nice little distribution there. What's also nice too is that if you have a kid maybe that did it late, which a lot of kids will during this, because a lot of kids are kind of working at different paces because of their situations at home. You can see on the Google Sheet that if you have a kid's information populate, but there's no grade next to it, then that's a kid who maybe did it late and you can grade it that way. Maybe there's a way that Google Forms can notify you. If there is a way you can set it up so Google Forms notifies you if another kid has done it, so that you don't have a kid who did the assignment, but because they maybe did it after the due date, whatever that may be, then you can sort of see, oh, there's another response on there. And you can change that in the notifications when you set up your Google form. But that's just something to be aware of, because sometimes kids may do stuff at different paces and they may turn it in later or something like that. So that's just something to be mindful of when you're issuing work through Google Forms and you're collecting it and grading it and giving it back. So that's just a little piece on just sort of what this all looks like when you're doing it. If I left anything out, Katrina, feel free to fill in. But for now, if you want to take some time to play around with the Google form, or if you have any questions, Katrina and I would be happy to try to answer those for you. If you have any sort of ideas or projects in mind and you're kind of want to vocalize how that might work. So I'll go ahead and stop presenting now. And if any of you have any questions, feel free to ask if anything comes up.
Hey, there was someone asking a question. Sorry, there was a question earlier that I thought I would address here. So somebody asked if we can import so let's see, let me read it again. In order to import, it must be from a document. Can I import from Word? Okay, so from Word, it should work the same as long as the document is formatted. So you can copy and paste, questions. So I do have an example here. Let me just present my screen. I don't have it's not a Word example, but using Google Docs, it should be the same. So let me put this here for a second. So it's still a little tedious, but it's something. It's better than retyping everything. So what you can do, there are like add-ons in Google Docs you could use to like import, but again, it's basically you either copy and paste here or you copy and paste into a form. So either way you're copy and pasting. So I was playing around with that earlier. But yeah, so what I mean by formatted is like this. So like if I, have the automatic numbering or whatever, it needs to be like that. But yeah, you would just you'd have to copy the question. Yay, okay. And then if you copy the answer choices, do that. And if I paste it here, now it's all separated. So a little less typing. It's still kind of, you still have to do copy and paste and all that, but it at least kind of saves a little time. If it wasn't formatted, what we would do is just put all these choices in the first, in the first answer choice. So you would have to separate it anyway. So yeah, if you have a quiz or questionnaire or whatever that's in a doc or in a Word file, this should work. If you need to format it, there's a little bit of playing around with that, but you just highlight that section and go to like the bullet or the numbered list or bullet points here. So initially it could be a little messy depending on how your quizzes or documents are formatted in the first place. So just kind of a heads up on that. If you already have these typed in and it's not formatted and then you put them in there, then you're going to have A twice, for example, right? So just kind of play around with it, see what works for you, and find a workflow that's hopefully efficient and not too tedious. So, but at least this way, it kind of saves a little bit of time, like I said, versus copying and pasting each option or retyping it all. So, but yeah, it should work with Word as well. Let's see other questions. And so yeah, just play, like I said, we said, take time to maybe create a quiz or create a form, just kind of get familiar with it or look through the resources and or the slideshow. And if you have questions, just let us know.
Thanks, Katrina. And if I could present real quick, I want to show you guys what I was talking about earlier, where you can get a notification if you do get a new form. So if you maybe assigned this form this week, and you have a kid who was AWOL for whatever reason and they do it next week, but you still want to give a kid credit for it. The way you do that is in the sheet that is created. You can do it there. So the sheet that's associated with it, if you go to tools and you go down to notification rules, you can have it set up so that it notifies you when a user submits a form. So it can just send you an email right away, or however you want to do it, or if you just want it to send you one email daily so that it can say, hey, by the way, you had 3 new people submit forms yesterday. So you can
show your screen.
you can set that up. Oh, is it not presenting? My bad.
Or I don't see it at least. Okay. I was like,
Okay, it should be coming up now. Okay, so yeah, so I'll go through it. I'll go back through it. So if you go to the sheet that is created from your form, and you go to tools right here, and you go down to notification rules, that's where it comes up. So there's a little prompt that says notify me, and it should have your email address. And I would send it to when a user submits a form. And then it can notify you either daily, so at a certain time every day, it'll send you a little email about how many people submitted forms. And it'll only send you one if somebody sent anything, or you can do it right away so that you know when a kid submitted something. And then when you hit save, it'll notify you if there is a new form submitted so that you know you have something else to grade and that sort of thing. So that's just a nice little way so that no kids really fall through the cracks if they're doing assignments a little bit later than other kids or that sort of thing. So you don't have kids saying like, oh no, I turned it in. And then you can say, well, yeah, you didn't, because I never got a notification that you did. So then you can problem solve from there. So that's just a nice way to ensure that there isn't any things where that may happen where a kid did something and they're not getting any credit for it, if you're allowing them to do it a little bit later, that sort of thing. All right, and if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to try to answer them, or you can use the chat feature, whichever.
We got to know the cat's name.
This is William Howard Taft. He's named
William Howard Taft.
William Howard Taft. He's named after the former president and Supreme Court Justice, one of the only people who serve in the highest branches of both the executive and judicial.
Very nice.
Yeah, he's on nap number 3 of the day, so.
Is that a little puppy
me.
Oh.
Yeah, that's his cat igloo that he never uses. He does use the towel here. That's basically a way so he can sit there and be a part of the action, because before that he was just walking across stuff and trying to like jump in my lap, and it was not really conducive to a work environment. So this was a nice compromise.
I can relate, Nate. I get photobombed all the time, but mine are in their big nap right now.
There you go.
maybe we just need like a, show and tell or something.
Yeah. That's actually a good idea if you want to do a Google Meet with your kids. What always gets kids to show up if you do like bring your pet day, and they show their pets. And I had one kid show me all the tricks his dog can do, which is actually pretty impressive. But yeah, it's just a nice way to sort of connect in that way, and everybody likes pets pretty much, so it's a good one.
There you go. Very nice.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you want to go and start playing with Google Forms or do whatever, don't feel compelled that you have to stay unless you want to ask us questions or just hang out or anything like that. But that's about our show for today. So
Thank you.
you have any questions?
Midnight Suits, thank you.
Oh, that's Black Cat
There's
too.
Bundle. She came out.
Dad, wake up, be interesting.
Yeah. I will.
My cat is sleeping, I think, in the bedroom.
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
Got to get that tight 16 hours in.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, here, we got it.
This is great. We could just have like cat hangouts. Oh, yeah.
Here, here's another.
Wake up.
Yeah,
My cat woke me up at like 5 this morning or something. It's like, really? Okay.
There we go.
All we need is lessons on like doing haircuts, because seriously, I need
Yeah.
really good. I don't know about anybody else, but
My hair is getting more and more outrageous every day, so.
I'm letting mine grow back. Why waste shavers?
Yeah.
hence why my camera's off. Okay. Oh dear. Anyway,
Good girl.
but yeah,
Okay.
This is
make a Google form.
no significance. My granddaughter made up the name.
Mhm.
It was a bundle of fun.
Mhm.
Bundle.
Aw.
Photo bomber.
Put pictures of your cats in the form if you want.
Yeah.
There we go. Now I've got something that I'll enjoy doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was going to make a check for understanding, and I wanted to use Google Forms to build the quiz.
Mhm.
And then at the end, they said you just link it to the page that would be your answer key. Does that sound about right?
You can put links in the quiz. So you mean like when it's after the student submits the form, then
Yeah.
yeah, you can do that. Let me.
Yeah. One way to do the answer key is if basically you take the quiz, and then you can set it up so like you can click which response would be the answer key, and obviously you would just click on the one you submitted.
Yeah. Let's see. So, all right. Okay. Make sure I'm not muted here. A couple options for that. So, so one thing is when they submit it, if you turn on the like immediate. So let me get to that here. Like release grade immediately, then you can choose what they see. So they can see their missed questions or the correct answers. You know, you could take some of these off, that sort of thing. So that's one option to do. If you did want to send them to a link to just something, whether it's that or something else, under presentation in the settings, like this is what you can like put in like a message that they'll see after it's been submitted. So where it says confirmation message, you could, put a link to something or give them a direction of sort, I'll be like in class, I would say, like start, open up the next assignment, whatever it was, or you could put a link to, go to this link and do this or whatever. So, so that's an option, another option as well. So either they can see it after they submit the quiz, or if you do want to put a link or some sort of message at the end, you can do it there.
All right. Cool.
And are you?
I would rather just learn how to do it in this setting.
Go on. What was that?
As opposed to the last time our science department did this, they wrote it in quizzes. So I had to kind of figure out quizzes. But I thought the advantage of Google Classroom was if I write it in Google Forms, doesn't it automatically dump it into Google Classroom, the score? Because quizzes did that too.
Yes. Let me pull up. Okay. Let's go to mine. Yes. So did I actually just do that today? Did I import? Oh yeah. All right. So let's let this load. I'll just show like an old quiz. No, this is like a retake, so there's only a few that did it. But yeah. So in Google Classroom. Oh, you know, now I feel like I jumped. Do you know how to like? Do you know how to like attach the quiz in Google Classroom?
Oh yeah, I've done that.
All right, so I was like, oh, hopefully I didn't like jump the step there. Yeah. So anyway, after they do it, then yeah, if you hit import grades, so you open the quiz under student work, import grades, and then they'll be here, and then you just return it. Because this was a retake, I didn't return it yet, but yeah, so you just do that, and then they can see their score there, and they should be able to open it from Google Classroom and view the results. Again, depends on the settings you set up in terms of what you want them to see, like the missed questions or just the scores, stuff like that.
All right, so in a way, it's kind of like Illuminate, where you can control what you can show the kids. Like,
Yeah.
we do test corrections, and I could just show them missed questions.
Right.
That's perfect.
So I do that a lot. Like I just do the I'll let them see what they missed, but I won't let them see the correct answer if I want them to do some sort of correction thing later or something. Then I just uncheck it.
Okay, now I have never took the one test we gave during regular instruction time. But I use this to send them that test, lock their Chromebook with the district, allow me to do that, or at this point, should I not try to collect some of the data?
I don't know what to say. So I think it's up to you. One thing you could do is have a meet like this with a student. And well, okay. So let me back up. If you put it in lock mode, then it would close the meet too. So I suppose if you wanted to do that, you can use a few tools. At least my idea. And you have another idea, But you can use Hapara. Have you used Hapara to look at their screens before?
So I don't know if Hapara will.
I just realized, as I said, yeah, never mind. It doesn't work. It only works on the district network. My bad.
And
okay.
I can go back and ask John or Nicole.
Yeah, actually, Bob, I had this conversation yesterday with our ILT, and if you want to reissue an assessment that was issued during regular instruction, whether it's a retake or, like you said, you have free reign to do that. In fact, they're trying to encourage teachers to do that, so that if you have a lot of kids that are, failing because they didn't do well or didn't do a particular summative, as long as you issued that summative during regular instruction and you're not introducing anything new, you can go ahead and change that summative. They just don't want you to make new summatives during distance learning. So if you want to create an online assessment that's assessing those same concepts and skills that you were doing during regular instruction, you have the district and administration's blessing to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What I'll do, we have the test saved to the drive. Could I use the established test and lock the phone, lock their Chromebook? They'll get one shot at it and they won't be able to download it, but they might be able to take pictures.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can. And yeah, like you said, you just kind of got to realize that are they going to be able to cheat? Probably. You can minimize that as much as you want, but it is what it is.
And at this point, I have about 50% or less, 40% responding anyway. Right. This is a kid that if she doesn't take this test and pass it, she's going to fail no matter all the other stuff she does in the virtual world.
Right. And especially considering everything we're giving now is supposed to be formative. I mean, that's only 30%. And yeah, so if a kid bombed the summative and for me, we only had about, I want to say 3, maybe 4 summatives before we went away. So if a kid did really poorly on one of those, that could be a grade killer. So yeah, that would be a great opportunity to help kids, build mastery and be able to get their grades up that way. Is it perfect? No. Or is it a highly likelihood that they may be able to figure out a way to cheat on it? maybe, but I mean, considering the circumstances, we have to use what we have, and this is about all we can do.
What I thought about doing was writing a similar. I don't want them to have the same document that we're probably going to reuse next year and the year after. So should I rewrite another test or make a version C or something?
You could. And if
We
you guys,
have them all stored, I could easily scramble it up and make a version C.
yeah, do you guys meet? Is this a shared assessment? Is it one that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So maybe one thing just to CYA a little bit with your content team is bring it up with them and sort of share what you kind of envisioned and see what they say. So you're not presenting the common assessment, and so it doesn't necessarily, compromise it for everybody. But that's maybe what I would do. But yeah, as far as the district and the school's stance on it, they're all for giving kids extra opportunities to redo summatives from regular instruction. So that you're not going to run into any sort of roadblocks from that end. But yeah, it might be a good idea to just throw it out there to your content team to see what they say. And who knows, they might be even able to help you if you guys do land on creating an alternative assessment that asks the same skills, but maybe is the exact same questions that you guys had already put out there.
Yeah, because I don't want to compromise any of our common assessments.
For
That's
sure.
all. I'll bring it up with them.
Yeah.
Say another idea, and it might be, I don't know, I might try it because I have a couple students in the same situation. Is just maybe not using lock mode, but you could have them on Google Meet and kind of watch them that way. I know it's a little creepy sounding, but just kind of set up a time that if they can, at least, of course, on during the day, and then you kind of sit there and sort of watch at least, just keeping an eye on what they're doing, or if they know that you're watching, maybe they'll be a little bit less likely to try to cheat or make copies of stuff. So that's certainly something you can just set up a meet for just that student or whatever. Just an idea to maybe think about if you want to try that too.
Okay. Because I've got a couple of students that if we don't figure out a way to do it, I either have to leave it as a blank test score so it doesn't count it in her total, or give her a shot at it. And I'm more for giving her a shot at it than just handing her the grade. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like when we were in school, this particular student and I battled over, she wasn't ready for it. I'll take it next week. Now we're not in school. I really feel like she's going to end up failing this course if I don't give her this opportunity. So I'll talk it over with the guys and maybe make a compromised handwritten version and watch her do it. And that might be a perfect example.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, guys. Thanks for everything.
No problem, Bob.
Alrighty.
No problem. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for everything.
No problem, Roberta.
Yep. Have a good weekend.
Take care.
Thanks. And then there was okay.
All righty.
So you were recording it, right?
I was, so I'll go ahead and stop right now. All right, that's our show. See you.
All right. Take care.